Hi, and welcome to the Zen Supermom podcast. The episode today is for you if you're curious about, how to set healthy boundaries, what are natural consequences. You're trying to not to yell at your kids, but when nothing else seems to work, like asking them nicely 100 times, trying to give them even rewards, right? None of that is working, and you're wondering, okay, there's so much parenting theory, it's so confusing, none of that is working for me and my kids, they're still not listening, I'm still getting mad, I'm still yelling every day. Please, somebody help me, give me some specific examples of how to do that and what that even is. Well, then let's get into it, shall we? Hi, my name is Elena. I'm a mommy tantrum specialist because I used to be specialist at yelling at my daughter and losing my patience. I tried to be so nice to her. I didn't want to be like my stressed out, nervous mom who was often yelling at me when I was little, because I knew how that felt. So I did my best. I read all the parenting books. I love Montessori, gentle parenting, attachment parenting, nonviolent communication. All of that knowledge in my head, it was like amazing, sounds great on paper. Now, how the heck do I do that? When I have a little toddler, who knows, she shouldn't be playing with the food, smashing it or throwing it on the floor. She shouldn't be splashing in the shower when I'm washing her because then I all end up being wet. She knew very well what the boundaries, what the rules were. And yet, with her beautiful smile, she laughed at me and did it anyways. And like, how the heck? There are only so many times you can keep your patience up before you lose it, right? So if you're on the same boat, let me give you a hug. There's nothing wrong with you. But also, it's not about the kids. We will talk about it. So why did I choose this topic for the podcast episode today? Because it's one of the things I keep hearing more and more often from moms. I meet them for the free mommy tantrum trainings and they're like, okay, this sounds great. I understand that in order to help my kids with their big emotions, I need to be able to manage my emotions. But even when I'm not yelling, even while I'm still calm, I'm trying to figure it out. They are not listening. Okay, so let's break it down into the steps actually where things go wrong, where things go off, where already you give your power away and what to do instead, all right? So let me use some specific examples. Usually, the first category of moms that are around are those who still believe that yelling and tough discipline and very strict criteria and rules, that this is what it has to be, otherwise kids are going to be spoiled brats, and so you have to be dominant, they have to be a little bit scared of you, because if you lose your authority, everything will go to hell. So if that's who you are, then I'm going to save your time. This podcast is not for you. This podcast episode and the entire podcast, all of my work, everything that I'm doing is for moms who understand, yes, that used to be the old traditional way of parenting when the survival of the family was key, but it also caused a lot of damage. And you realize that from your own self, right? Never feeling good enough, always being afraid of being judged, never quite feeling like you can take a rest and stop taking care of everybody else because you will be doomed lazy, never feeling safe to show your emotions in like a controlled way, like trying to avoid your emotions, trying to avoid making other people upset, walking on eggshells, because otherwise if they explode or if they see that you're having like bad feelings, you're sad, you're crying, like they would be mad at you, right? So all of this, you understand, that's the price you're paying for your childhood. Not here to blame your parents. They did the best they could with what they knew, but you want to do better for your kids. You want to be a mom who is calm, who is patient, but who can set the boundaries, okay? So this is the type of mom I can help. And those are the moms I often meet, because then you understand, like, okay, so my intention is to be calm, to manage my emotions, because I can see it. When I'm calm, the kids are doing better. When I'm already exhausted and stressed out at the end of the day, kids are also going to have much more tantrums and big emotions, and things are not going to go smooth if they are if they're already exhausted, because they take it also from me. I'm influencing my kids' emotions, right? So you are already that far ahead that you understand what impact your emotional state has on your kids. So you're doing your best to stay calm. But there are situations like running out of time in the morning, Like, you're trying to be the best mom in the world, giving your kids enough time, giving them time checks. Like, hey, my dear, 5 minutes, we have to be out of the door. You better start getting ready. You're trying to prepare everything. You're trying different kinds of routines. But then when time is out and you have to get out of the door and they are still dragging their feet, or they throw out all of their clothes on the floor and start running around naked. Ha ha ha, what a funny thing it is to do. Mommy, come chase me. And you're like, I could not take this anymore, right? So mornings are usually one of the biggest stress points, and evenings as well, because by that time you're already done after a full day of either taking care of them or taking care of them and trying to get some work done and taking care of whomever else needs to be taken care of, doing all the things you shouldn't be doing, but you don't feel good enough to say no, because then you might lose some friends and family might think that you're so selfish and not helpful. So after the end of your day, you're cooked. You're just like, let me make it until they go to sleep, and then I can just like crash and just be myself and recharge. But that's not what happens, right? Because at that point they are already tired, because they had to spend all day at school. They had to follow the rules, otherwise they would be judged. They would be like, nah, you're a bad kid, you're not listening to me, the teacher. So they have to be on their best behavior at school or at nursery, wherever they are, and there are so many kids and so much overwhelm and so many toys and such a big mess and chaos and everything. So when they come home, they're like, total release of emotions, right? That would be a good sign. But for you, it's like, what? It's like, I can't have any of this. And then they keep coming out of bed 10 times, 20 times. Mommy, I need a drink. Mommy, I need to pee. Mommy, one more cuddle. Mommy, there's a monster under my bed. Mommy, I just had a nightmare. Mommy, I'm not feeling well. My tummy hurts. And you're like, what the heck? So no matter how much you're trying to be calm and manage it, it's like your ability to stay calm is limited naturally, logically, right? And then your life just keeps getting more and more tough. And it's like there's a gap by how much you can handle without, like, until eventually there comes a moment when you lose it, okay? So this is why we are here. Your life will keep getting crazy. Your kids will keep saying no to you. Your kids will keep fighting for control and independence. They will be trying to do things on their own when you don't have enough time. So the only thing you can actually do is first do your own childhood trauma healing, so that part of you doesn't jump out, because it will remind you how you didn't feel heard, you didn't feel respected, you didn't feel good enough. All of that jumps up. All of that makes it feel personal when your kids are not listening to you, right? And then the second part is mental fitness, so that you can stay calm. And only in that point, only when you can do that, rewrite your brain from running on like the stressed out, the judge in your head, the avoider trying to avoid the conflict, please your kids, all of that, the hyperachiever who wants to be doing 1 million things on your to-do list, and your kids are preventing you, they're stopping you, they're blocking you, slowing you down. All of this has to get worked out through mental fitness, so that then once you get calm and you see it's about my kid, what is my kid going through, how do I need to support them, what is the healthy boundary, and what is the natural consequence, because only from that point we can actually start talking about some examples. Okay, so example number 1, mom who understands there needs to be a boundary, but actually she does no consequences. Okay, and see if that's you. So I meet a lot of moms who are telling me, yeah, I'm telling my kids like what the rules are. I'm telling them you cannot smash food on the floor, or you cannot play with it in your hands, because food is for eating and we are not wasting food. And I'm trying to explain to my kids. Okay, and I'm listening to her and I'm like, yeah, sure, I have lots of compassion for you. I completely get it, because that's my value as well. We don't waste food in my family. However, let's have a look at it from your kid's perspective. What is your kids indicating to you the moment they start smashing food on the floor or squishing it in their hands and not eating? What is going on for them in that moment? Because if it's a baby, if it's a little toddler, all it means they need some sensory play, right? They are so fascinated by it, how it's squishy, the texture, the temperature, how it's wet, and just like what their little fingers can do. So then the beautiful reaction could be, as an example, my dear, I can see you're up for some playtime, but also you're playing with food, which we don't do. So that tells me you're not hungry anymore. So the food goes away. And now let's see what else you can squish and play with. So let's clean up, and then I can give you like a wet sponge. Like you can cut half of the sponge for the dishes, put some water in it, put them in the shower or put them in the bathtub so that they can get all wet and dirty or whatever. Add them some food coloring so that it has color as well and they can play with it, right? Containing it, meeting the child's need without making the child feel wrong or not good enough. For doing it the wrong way. Okay, just as an example, kids throwing food on the floor, the same thing. I can see you're done with eating, so the food goes away. You're not going to get any other food until the next meal. And you will stick with it, by the way. This is another point where moms take it wrong, because then you're scared, like, oh, they'll be hungry. Oh, they will starve. I'm a bad mom because I'm letting my kids go hungry. And even though you set the boundary, then 1 hour later, when they start crying and rummaging through all of the food closets and taking food out, you let them do it because, yeah, they are hungry. They didn't finish lunch or dinner, right? No. So this is another thing. First thing is boundary. So explaining, this is even beyond explaining. You do explaining based on the age category. There's no point in explaining 2-year-old that we are not wasting food. It's just like they don't care about the orphans in Africa. That's the speech that I heard. And maybe if you're in post-communist country, that's the speech you were getting growing up. I got the speech about poor kids in Africa every single day, right? And this is not to make fun out of like the world poverty and hunger. Absolutely not. Like I'm contributing, donating lots of money to lots of charities. That's not the point. But the point is, that story missed the point. Okay, that had no impact on me wanting to eat more than I was ready, right? That was my parents' stuff. So notice the level of your explanation. It needs to be appropriate to the age of your child. And usually when they are doing something they are supposed not to do and they know they're breaking a rule, at that moment, it's very often their emotions taking over. They will not listen to anything you say unless it's said with compassion, no judgment. Yes? So first thing is, yes, there are rules, but then there needs to be the consequence if the rules are broken, if they do it on purpose. And that rule needs to be set up consistently. It cannot be that it's ruled today because you have time to deal with it, and tomorrow, for example, watching TV. So many kids, they will love watching TV when you need to go and finish your work, or you want to be on the phone with your friend, or you feel like you need a break because you've had enough of their noise and fighting and everything. So you want to let them sit in front of TV for 15 minutes longer today than usual. Well, then guess what's going to happen tomorrow? They will request the same thing. Specific example. One mom, I spoke to her, I think last week or earlier this week. She was saying, yeah, my son, he loves playing in the shower. So I get it. Like instead of him sprinkling water all over me, I let him play 15 minutes in the shower by himself. But then the next day he asked for 30 minutes. He's begging, he's crying, he doesn't want to get out, he's fighting. So I let him 15 minutes more. So guess what? Now we are at 30 minutes. And that's still not enough. And he's begging and pleading and kicking, and he doesn't want to get out of the shower. So, like, there needs to come a point when you decide what is enough. And that's where before setting the boundary, you need to get clear on yourself. Where is it that you are willing to go? How far you are willing to go? And where is already enough, where it's already too much for you? Because you should never let your kids stretch it beyond that, because then you will be resentful. You will be jealous of them. You'll be like, yeah, I'm giving you so much and I'm such a nice mom and you have so much more than I ever had as a kid and this is not fair. And that's how you become the little kid yourself in that moment. So that's why I said at the beginning, step number 1, do your own childhood healing first, because whenever you feel like this is not fair and you're not respecting me and I would never dare doing this to my parents and my parents would never spend 30 minutes playing with me in the shower and now for you it's still not enough, how the heck, this is not fair. Yeah, jealous inner child. That's why the first step is your inner child, is your childhood healing, right? So that it doesn't jump up. And then you'll be checking in with you, like what is enough for me, and what is it, the rule or the boundary that I will insist on no matter what. that even if I have too much work to do, there is 10 minutes time limit on TV every day. And if I still need to finish something and get rid of my daughter, then, well, what is the other thing she can be doing, right? Rather than watching TV. If 10 minutes is the limit, and she knows that. Because that's how you sabotage yourself, by allowing the boundary to be fluid and shrinking and expanding based on what you need. Because your kids are absolutely right. That's not fair for them. Right? Because how is it that when they want, they cannot have it longer? It can be longer when you want, when it fits you. That they're right. That's not fair. Right? And it's very confusing. And this is what will make your negotiations much more difficult, because your kids will be rightfully struggling for power and control in your relationships. Because they will feel they are not manipulated, but kind of like they are under your will, and they will try to fight through it. Because they will be like, this is not fair. Why is it? Only because I'm smaller, then I cannot decide, and you can decide everything, and you're just changing how you want, Mom? Not okay. It's confusing. It's much easier to set even like the time limit smaller. And by the way, we have, there is already a specific podcast episode about screen time and fights. Because it's better to do that boundary like smaller and give them less, but then give it consistently, not confuse them about one day more, one day less. Rather keep it consistent so that there is no negotiation. There is no trying to cry it out from you. Because when you give in to the cries, to the kicking, to the complaining, to the na, then you are giving your power away. You're letting your kids, you're giving them the message. If you're being a pain in the butt, you will get what you want. What is that teaching them as a lesson for life? Right? So that's one thing, consistency. Not what suits you, but what is the real rule, and you need to adapt to that rule. You need to be very careful when you're setting the rule that you can stick with it, no matter what, okay? And I'm not saying being rigid, like, oh, the bedtime is 7:30, so you cannot go to 7:45. I'm not going to give you more hugs because bedtime is 7:30. No, of course it can be changing depending on, like, it might change if your kids are sick, if you have been sick, like extreme situations like this. Of course, you're not going to be rigid with your rules. Of course, you're going to make exceptions, but those are the situations you should keep the exceptions for. Okay? When it's really like a life or death situation, because you're totally done, because you've been sick for a week, you've been having fevers, and there's nobody taking care of you, but you have to take care of the little ones, and they are sick as well, and everybody is like, everybody's going crazy. Those are the moments you can implement exceptions. You can make new rules for being sick times, okay? But keep it with that. Make sense? Okay. More examples. So there are moms who understand there should be boundaries, but then there are no consequences. Like, I just spoke a few days ago to a mom who was telling me, I have 3 kids. They understand they need to sit through the meal, finish the meal, and then they can have a dessert. And what they started doing is that they started getting up in the middle of the meal, running to the fridge, already picking up the snacks, and already like tearing it apart and started eating it. And she's like, what the heck? Like, now you're joking, right? And yeah, the kids were like, la 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 la. Mom trying to explain, again, 100 times nicely, didn't work. Chasing the kids around the table, didn't work. Total craziness, right? Until finally, when she had enough, whoosh, full momzilla blown out, yelling, making them scared so that they would finally listen. She had to yell so hard that they really got like traumatized by it. I bet they will have nightmares for the rest of the week about it. And that was because there was no consequences. There were no consequences for it. Okay? So this is what we are often struggling. And again, I'm saying that with no judgment, absolutely no judgment. Lots of compassion, because I was in the same place. I went through exactly the same. My mom was too strict. So then my thing, when I had my daughter, I was thinking, okay, I'm not going to be that strict. I need to find a way. I will be very nice. I'll try to avoid conflicts. I try to avoid triggering situations. There are lots of moms who are trying to avoid going shopping with the kids because the kids are always asking for something sweet or some toys. Whenever they see toys or something, they need to have it. Otherwise, they have a tantrum. And moms, rather than dealing with it and learning how to set boundaries, and again, natural consequences, they rather avoid the situation. They don't go shopping with the kids, right? Not helping. Not helping in the long term. Yes, it can help you in the short term. You have less stress, you have one thing less to worry about. It does not help you in the long term. Because again, you're not teaching your kids their rules and what the consequences are, and connecting with them without judgment, without you getting triggered, making them feel heard, recognizing their needs, but also letting them know, like, your needs finish where my needs start. Your space, your freedom finishes where it would attack or harm my freedom. Yes, my boundaries. Okay? So let me go back to the no consequences. Yes. So this is where, for us who had it too strict in our childhood, we want to go to the other extreme. No yelling. Okay. But that's what backfires. If there is because we were not taught how to set the boundaries, how to set the consequences in a healthy way. So we go all the way to the other extreme and set none, because we don't want to make our kids upset. And we want to avoid big drama, especially on public and people judging us. Then there are moms who are doing it through positive rewards. Yeah? Like, yeah, if you do this, or if you clean your room, you get like few coins, you get some money. If you finish your dinner, you're going to get a dessert. If you are quickly dressed up in the morning, you're going to get a sticker. Why is that not working? Why not? Because you're not teaching your kids like the natural motivation. Who are you creating as a human being? If you think about it, and by the way, if there are any guys listening, please take this with 2 cents. Like, I'm not a feminist activist or anything, but I hear very often from the moms who come to my program that they are basically treating their husband or partner as the next child. Okay? Why? Because their husbands, partners, were raised in this positive way often, yeah? So they got super praised and they got rewarded for doing some things, but then when they didn't, there was no consequence. So the guys get into a marriage or become dead, and he expects to be celebrated for taking out the trash, and then he takes no responsibility for anything else, right? Because they have no natural motivation. They don't understand how family works. They don't understand that different people have different responsibilities, and we are doing this not because mommy is the annoying pain in the butt policewoman trying to nag and annoy everybody's life. We are all a team. We are all team, and our objective is to live in a nice, cozy home, having nice food on the table, and all those things. Somebody needs to do that. So how are you contributing to us as a group, as a team? Right? That's the thing that kids need to start learning as early on as possible, naturally. When you're trying to reward it, behavior that should be natural, that they should want to do because they want to belong in this family. They don't feel nagged, dragged, controlled, timed, but they get their reward is living in this positive, nice, happy, well-balanced environment. That's the reward. If they're expecting to get something else on top, you're in trouble, and you're setting your kids, that's the worst part. You're setting your kids for problems later on in their relationship and in their life. Like going to work. Yeah, sure, they get salary for working, so that's the positive reward. But then, like, where is the reward for them cleaning their apartment when they're older? Where is the reward for them not eating fast food every day and actually learning how to cook and preparing some healthier meals, right? Where's the reward in them learning how to, clean, how to take care of themselves, how to take care of others? They will expect stickers for being a good dad or being a good mom one day. They will expect people to come and pat them on the back. Like, you're such a great mom. That doesn't come, you know that. Nobody's coming to tell you what a great mom you are. Usually people are criticizing you and pointing out things that you're doing wrong and judging you for your bad decisions while you're doing your best. There is no positive sticker chart in life. Why do you want to set your kids up for a failure this way already so early on, right? So what is the healthy way? Natural consequences. Okay. So, natural consequence, and I shared that already in some podcast episodes before, because like the first place where I go is my own memories with my daughter. Whenever she felt she played too rough with her toys when she was little, so that she was breaking it, I went in, I said, well, if you continue this way, the toy would get broken, and I cannot let you break your toys because not only you would cry, but also you're not getting any new toys. So that toy is go away for today. You can play with it tomorrow when you're feeling calmer and when you can have respect for the toy, how it deserves. Okay? Of course, I'm not saying it now in the language that you need to talk to a 2-3-year-old, right? You will simplify the language. Okay? But this is the essence of it, you understand? The same was with books, or leaving books and toys at the end of the day, just like in the middle of the room. So my reaction after I healed, not in the first years, because I was getting extremely annoyed, mad, felt like a victim. I was mad and trying to push my daughter by yelling to clean it up. Or then I was avoiding making her feel like sad and crying. So then I was cleaning up everything by myself, feeling like a victim and resentful and like, this is not fair, da. So only after I cleaned that up, after I did my own childhood healing and my own mental fitness practice, brainwashing myself not to behave like my mom, only then what I started doing was acknowledging, okay, I see there are lots of toys, lots of books on the floor, so that tells me you're done playing with them. However, if you want to keep them, like you still want to play with them tomorrow, the day after, you still want to keep having these toys, so put them on their place. Because that's what we do with things we enjoy. We respect them, we put them back on their place. If you don't want to play with this anymore, then we can put it in a bag and take it to charity, like take it to all those special places where they resell toys for kids whose parents don't have money to buy them toys, because you're lucky. We can buy you so many toys. There are kids who don't have parents, their parents don't have money. They would love to have a toy like this. They would take care of that toy so well. They would be putting it back in its place. So if you don't want to play with this, let's put it in a bag. Let's take it to the shop. And so we did that. Again, you follow through with your natural consequences. That's, by the way, the positive benefit. My daughter got used to giving. Yeah. So that's when we started doing it then, because I didn't have to, like, we didn't have to be doing this. She started cleaning up her toys. She started putting them back in place. So I didn't have to use this as a threat, because that's not what it was meant. But then we started doing this every year before Christmas. Yeah. You have too many toys. We don't have any more space where to put them all. So let's go through all of them. Tell me which ones you're not playing with anymore. And let's put them in a bag. And she loved doing it. She loved taking the bag herself to the store. She loved hearing the stories about kids who will be like grabbing those toys. Like those toys will have a second life. They will be in somebody else's bedroom. There will be a little girl who will go to sleep feeling so happy because she has my daughter's toy, right? So natural consequences, not as a threat. I was not sharing this. I was not saying this to my daughter to threaten her. Like, if you don't put it away, you will never see that toy again, and it's your fault, and I don't care that you're crying. Like, no. Totally neutral energy. In a way, like, my daughter, this is your choice. You choose. Whatever you choose, it's fine with me. Those are not my toys. I'll help you either way. You need me to help you clean up? Like, if it's too much, I can help you. You want me to put it in a bag and take you to the shop so that you can give it away to other kids? I'm fine with that. Whatever you decide. As neutral as possible. And even when you can, with unconditional love, saying like, I know not what a good girl you are, because we don't want to raise like good girls and good boys who are like squished under the expectations. But like, I know you're very kind. I know you want to help other kids. So yeah, this will be amazing. They will have fun with it. Okay? The same example, I just spoke yesterday to a mom who we have in advanced level, and she was struggling. And thank you so much for the example. She's struggling with her sister and her sister's kids. And the example was, and this is, by the way, also sharing like a win and celebration. I told her afterwards, because she could stay calm even though she saw her sister completely losing it over her kids. But the example was, the youngest one of her sister was splashing soup everywhere. And the mom, of course, yelling all day long at all of her kids. And then complaining, yeah, she just doesn't eat anything than bananas, so I'll just give the baby a banana. And so my client, she was saying, well, yeah, duh, of course, because banana, she can feel it, can play with it, and it's like, it's the sensory thing again in her hands. So of course she likes having banana because she's allowed to do like, yeah, fun stuff with banana. She eats it, but also it's more, it's allowed to, there's more space. The boundary is more loose, right? So this is why I was starting this podcast episode with saying, first, before you go into any parenting strategy, any parenting tips, scripts, like recipes on how to manipulate your kids into obedience so that you don't have to yell, before you do any of that, you need to make sure you clean up what's triggering you. And then whatever situations your kids get into, that you can allow to hold that safe space for them to experience it. Yeah. For example, another example just came to my mind. Mom who was saying that her daughter, whenever she got upset, she would hurt the dog. They have tiny dog, and poor doggy, whenever her daughter needed mom's attention, her attention, and the mom was busy cooking, cleaning at the end of the day, like try to get the dinner on the table, and the daughter was so tired from nursery, and mom was not paying attention, so the daughter was crying, and then she started hurting the dog. And so the mom, like, that was the last drop. Then the mom started yelling and shouting, right? Like, you cannot even let me finish, and I just need 5 minutes. You cannot even play by yourself for 5 minutes. And then basically everybody ended up crying. The dog was hurt. The girl was totally out of control. Mom was yelling and then felt so guilty. So like everybody crying, everybody having big tantrums and meltdowns at the end of the day, right? And it kept repeating. It was a pattern for the daughter how to for sure get the attention of mom, okay? So then what she came up with, and she shared it, I think, in a group call or an email or in Facebook group, she shared, well, finally, I did figure it out. Yeah. I realized there's a pattern. I realized that my daughter is doing this always at the end of the day when she's already tired. So what I'm doing, I started preparing for the dinner sooner, so that when she already gets to the point that she's melting down, I can be with her. And we put the dog away so that the dog doesn't get hurt. The dog doesn't become the victim of the consequences here. But I'm able to support my daughter because I anticipate it. I expect this to happen. I'm not making it personal because I understand this is natural reaction of my daughter who spent the whole day at school where she had to listen to the boundaries, she had to listen to the teachers, she had to be a good girl, she couldn't express any emotions, and it was total sensory overwhelm. So I totally understand why my daughter is feeling this way, and I understand what she needs even more than food is me and for some me time so that she calms down and I support her through it. And so she adjusted the nighttime routine, the evening routine, so that she can anticipate and she can prepare for it. And she understands it's not about me. She makes sure to recharge her own energy, to not be super exhausted when she gets to interact with her daughter. But she understands this is not about me. She's not doing it because she's a mean girl and she wants to hurt the dog, really. She's doing it because she is going through it. There's so much pressure on her. There are so many emotions she doesn't know how to handle. So I just need to create a safe space for her so that she understands she's loved anyways. And I can help her deal with it in a safe way without anybody getting hurt. Yeah, because this is often, this was example with dog, but of course the most common example I hear is that kids are hurting their siblings, because that's a sure way how to get mom's attention. And then mom is siding with one or the other one typically. Yeah, if you have more than one kid, you're usually seeing yourself in one of them. And if you were a victim, if you were bullied in your childhood, if you had 2 strict parents who were yelling at you, or even beating you up, then you will usually take the side of the victim kid and try to protect them from the ugly, mean, aggressive other kids. Both of them are yours though. And this is how your memory, subconsciously even, you're not doing it because you want to do that, but subconsciously you actually reinforce that victim and aggressor roles in them, and that's who they will grow up to be. It will be it will be much more difficult for them to move away from those labels and roles and those behavioral patterns of feeling like a victim and and everybody is mean to me and I need mama to protect me. To the aggressor, who will feel like, yeah, there's something wrong with me. I'm just a bad kid. I don't deserve any love. So I better as well, like, just go through it and just break all the rules anyways, because nobody cares. Both of the kids are feeling pain. Both of the kids are not feeling healthy self-confidence, healthy self-esteem. None of them knows what to do with their feelings and how to be safe around people and their boundaries. You see, that's why the first step will always be, you need to do your own healing first, because only from that point you will become the best parenting expert on your kids. I never want to give any scripts to my clients. Well, how I'm coaching them is, of course, we do all of their trauma healing and mental fitness thing. But then in those group calls, I'm coaching them. I'm asking them questions. All I'm doing is trying to shift their perspective to understand, like, get them out of this stuckness between that pendulum going from the extreme, either yelling and being too strict and controller policewoman, just like your parents were, all the way to the other extreme of having no boundaries, avoiding conflicts, like, I cannot make anybody not happy, so I'll rather do it all by myself, but then resentful, burned out inside and yelling anyways when it becomes too much, right? So what I'm trying to do is to then shift the perspective to stop making it personal, using all the healing tools we are using. Stop making it personal so that you see what is going on for a kid. And what is the natural boundary and consequence that would stem from the situation that is related to it? Yes? So that your kids understand you're not punishing them, you're not threatening them, you're just telling them consequently, well, this is what's going to happen. You keep climbing up there, well, you're going to fall. It's going to hurt. And I'm not going to say you, but I told you. Yeah. You're going to keep hurting your brother, well, then I will need to put you in separate rooms. Or that toy that you're fighting for, that toy will go away. So you better start playing with other toys. Yeah. You keep splashing water all over bathroom, well, then you will help me clean it up. Here's your little towel, and here's mine. Let's clean it up together. Because it has to be cleaned up. There cannot be water on the floor. Somebody would slide and fall. Okay. You keep playing with food. Food is going away. You will get the food on the next meal. You keep drawing on the table with the crayons. Crayons are going away. Because if you don't understand, crayons can be used only for, like, drawing on paper. On a free sheet of paper. Not on books, not on anything else. On free sheet of paper. Here's a sheet of paper. You don't want to use it, you want to keep drawing on the table, well, crayons are going away until tomorrow. Tomorrow we can practice again, practice using crayons. But until you learn how to use them, they are going away. Do you want to play with something else now? Okay? Not as a punishment, not as, go to the naughty chair and think about what you did. You're crying, go to your room and come back when you're calm and happy and can say yes and can help me. None of that. You need to recognize big emotions. Yes, I can understand you would want a lollipop in the shop, but you got lollipop last week and that's enough. You will get another one next month, whatever your rules are about sweets, okay? Sticking to the boundaries. The younger the kids are, the more it works to distract their attention. The older the kids are, you can try to explain your rule, but more than anything else, your kids will not be listening. Even if they're older, they will not listen to your logical explanation. Because you can go back to your childhood and think about how did you feel about you and the interactions with your parents when things didn't go wrong? How did that make you feel? Not heard, not seen, not respected, not good enough, not being worthy of love, unconditional love, because there's something wrong with you, so you have to pretend and keep getting better. Whichever of these was true for you, 99% of the cases, you can bet your kids need the same. That's how they feel. That's why they cross the boundary, even though they know the boundary. They cross it because they don't feel heard, they don't feel seen, they don't feel appreciated for who they are. And that's why it gets even bigger than just, yeah, but I want them to be good human beings. I want them to do well in school. We had a mom who, her priority was getting good grades, and she was losing it every evening when she was doing homework with her son. Because he's just like, I'm trying to explain to him, he's not listening to me at all. So then I lose it and I start yelling. Of course, not blaming the mom. She's doing the best she can, but she will not be able to do better until she heals. Because again, this goes back to her childhood and the pressure she experienced on academic achievements, right? And the punishments she was going through whenever she was not good. The judgments she went through when she was trying to go through her first jobs and people were blaming her and making fun of her and discriminating her because she was out of like third world country or Eastern country and she was trying to prove that she's good enough, that she can do that. She's doing this to her son out of positive intentions. She wants him to have a better life. But look at what it's doing. It's only perpetuating this generational pattern of kids feeling not good enough. It will probably trigger a lot of ADHD symptoms in him because his brain will start going in nervous patterns. His brain cannot calm down enough to learn. So he will start feeling he's stupid. He will start showing signs of ADHD. She will have problems at school. He will start hating school. He will not have good friends. They will be bullying him, making fun of him that he's stupid. That's the last thing the moms want, right? But this is where you need to realize that the blueprint our parents gave us, again, it made sense for them. Maybe it made sense for their generation. We are living in a different world. And I don't want to go on a tangent about education and that you should stop having ambitions for your kids in terms of their academic achievements. But look, is that the priority? What is your priority? How do you want your kids grow up feeling about themselves? Because that's what we are talking about here. What do you want your kids, like how do you want them to grow up feeling? Do you want them to grow up feeling they were not good enough? They were under your expectations. They didn't deliver. They always had to walk around on eggshells not to make you upset. Do you want them to feel like they're doing school just for you so that you don't yell? Because no amount of you explaining about how important school is, that's not going to do anything for them. Right now, at that point when they're sitting over their homework and you keep yelling at them, all that is doing to them, they feel not heard, they feel stupid, and they feel like they cannot do school. So again, for this mom, specifically what we did with her, we helped her heal her own inner childhood trauma. We help her realize that number one priority for any kid is not to do well at school. Because you have so many examples of like kids who didn't do well at school and look, geniuses and life-changing trailblazers, what they did, right? World-changing, not life-changing, world-changing trailblazers. Like there are so many famous personalities, so many respected people who will tell you they drop out of school. They didn't even finish. Education, I don't want to get into a rant about formal education these days, but you might want to think about it twice. Examine, inspect your beliefs. Are they still the beliefs of your parents? Do you have them only because somebody hammered them into your head? Or do you really still believe that in the current world? Do you really believe that money and school titles are what is going to make your kids happy and like good human beings, right? How do you want them to grow up feeling about themselves? Having self-confidence, making the right choices, living their authentic life, not realizing they've been studying law or medical school for 10 years, only then to drop it and run away and travel the world and become a whatever, like a pottery maker. What do you want for your kids, right? And I'm biting my lip because I don't want to go into another rant about what your priorities should be and what your beliefs should be about your kids and their future. This is for you to make when we can go into another episode about it. I just want you to start getting curious what your priorities are. What is the most important thing here? Because then in every single situation, every single struggle you experience with your kids, every single time you feel like you're trying to give them the good thing and they're pushing back against it, that should be a red flag. Your kids are not feeling heard. And that doesn't mean to say let them just draw on the wall because they will be the next Picasso. So let them just destroy all of your furniture, all of your apartment or house just because they want to draw everywhere. No. Do set the boundaries. But then also see the underlying need. What is it that they need? Why are they doing that? Why they're intentionally crossing the boundary? What are they trying to tell you? Not in a good way, but what are they trying to tell you? Yeah. And only then, exactly as I'm drilling into all of my moms in the mommy tantrum trainings, only after you're able to manage your big emotions, you will become a positive, healthy role model and an example for your kids to start managing theirs. Only when you respect your own boundaries, you can expect your kids to respect your boundaries too, right? You cannot be the parent who spends the whole dinner on your phone like for your entire kid's childhood. And then when they become a teenager, you tell them, no, you cannot have a phone by dinner. If they saw you for the last 12 years doing this, you can't have another rule for them, right? If they see you sneaking out chocolate after dinner out of the cupboard, you cannot tell them that they cannot have a sweet dessert, right? You need to respect your rules first, right? So, Mama, if you listened all the way to here, let me appreciate you for having the courage. Not easy. I can understand. It would be so easy to go into your victim mode. It would be so easy because you feel like you're not heard for your entire life. You are misunderstood. People are judging and blaming you, okay? So please hear me out. I'm not one of them. I'm not judging you in any way. None of this is your fault. But you're actually proving my point. You're still feeling like the victim. You're still feeling like the hyperachiever who never gets enough credit for everything that you've done. You are the people pleaser who puts other people first because you were never appreciated. You were never given enough space to feel your emotions and be selfish and want something for yourself because people judged you for that. That's why the journey starts with you. Before you try to go and apply any parenting technique on your kids so that your kids get better, you need to get better first. Yes? And that's the good thing. That's the good thing. Because your emotions, your behavior is actually the easiest thing. That's the only thing you can work on. All the rest, your kids and how they grow up, their personality, to a large extent, all you can do is just love them through it while keeping the boundaries around it so that they understand. But that's all you can do. Yeah. The best way to help your kids is help yourself first. So I hope I shared enough examples for you to get an idea of what natural consequences are, for what healthy boundaries are. If you need more examples, if you feel like your situation is unique and you want to dare me, like, hey, of course, duh. The examples you shared, so easy. Everybody can see that. But how about this? And you want to throw me like super difficult, tangled situation where it's impossible to set healthy boundaries and natural consequences. Well, yeah, please challenge me. Let us know. Wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast episode, you always have their contact details or you can always DM us back. So please let us know. Send us your questions. Yeah, I'm here to help. I'm happy to help because the fact that you care enough to try and get help, that shows me you already are an amazing mom. And maybe you just need a few tweaks here and there to take it off. Yeah. Because secretly, I'm not even here for you. I'm here for the kids. I wish somebody did that for you and I when we were kids. I just wish somebody could help our moms so that we wouldn't have to go through all of that pain and just keep repeating the madness, right? It's time to stop those generational cycles. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why I will keep talking about it for as long as anybody listens. So thank you so much for making it to the end of this Zen Supermom podcast episodes. And I'm going to see you in the next one. Take very good care, Supermom. Bye. Why can't you stop yelling at your kids? And no, it's not the stress, lack of sleep, kids not listening, fighting, hitting, no support, time pressure, ADHD, hormones. No, moms around the world are doing it regardless. How? Join us for the upcoming Mommy Tantrum training and find out too.